Hi everyone, it's Tim here again. So just over a month ago we got our air-to-air heat pump system installed. You can see one of the units behind me there. And when I've mentioned it in past videos, I always get a lot of interest in the comments asking me about the system. So I decided that it was probably a good idea to do a sort of short series of videos all about the system, split into sort of various different topics. So in this first video in the series, I'm going to talk about the actual hardware itself, where it's installed, what we've got, and how much it all cost and all that stuff. And then in future videos, I'm going to talk about the relative pros and cons of this system versus other systems that we could have got installed, and why we went with this particular system instead of any of those other ones. And then in the final video, Kat and I are going to sit down and have a good old chat about how we found living with the system over the last month or so. We've had a few different days of various different temperatures, so I've got a little bit of data now and I can share that with you as well in that video. But for now, let me take you on a tour of the house to show you the system and what's involved. And because I'm going to show you a fair bit of the house, I would appreciate it if you could keep the comments to the heat pump system itself and not our house or our lifestyle, if you would be so kind. But thank you in advance for doing that. But in anticipation of some of the possible questions that we might have got otherwise, this is a new build house. We moved in June 2021. No, we don't have any kids, and no, we don't have any pets. And yes, the house is pretty big for just the two of us. But that covers the basics. So with that in mind, let me show you a floor plan of the house and where all of the units are installed so that you've got a bit of context for when I take you on the tour. Right, let's head over to the office. Okay, so this is the floor plan of the ground floor of our house. It's 2 stories, detached house, 4 bedrooms. And what I've tried to show here is the location of the various indoor units and outdoor units and the piping between them, because obviously they need to be joined together with the refrigerant lines and the power and all that stuff. So we've got 3 indoor units on the ground floor. We've got one in this sort of family dining room area, one in the living room just here, and one in the hallway. Which will fill up all of the hall, both downstairs and upstairs, because we've got quite an open sort of atrium type area. Now the outdoor units are both positioned on this side of the house, and the reason for that is that this side of the house is a sort of dead end. There's a passage down there between us and our neighbour, and a fence sort of running along down about there. But otherwise this is sort of unused space, so this is sort of an ideal place to put the outdoor units. We gain access to our back garden through the opposite side along here, so I didn't want to put any sort of outdoor units in the way along that path, because otherwise that would restrict our access to our back garden, and I didn't want to do that. So we've got another house on this side to the left there, and again a fence running down somewhere like that. So what we've got is 2 outdoor units, and they feed a different number of indoor units. This is a multi-split system, so it means that each outdoor unit supplies more than one indoor unit. So this particular unit here supplies the living room, the hall, and also the office, which is where I'm sat upstairs, and that's above this room here. I'll show you that plan in a second. Whereas the this outdoor unit supplies the indoor unit that's in the living room sort of dining area, and also our master bedroom. So if I show you the first floor plan, what I've done here is I've sort of grayed out the stuff that's on the lower floor, so you get an impression of where it is, but it's not actually on this floor. Obviously it's lower down. So I'm sat roughly about here, and this is our office indoor unit. And what happens is the pipework goes through the wall, and then it goes down the outside of the wall before going into the that particular outdoor unit. And in our bedroom, we have the indoor unit sort of attached to the wall next to the ensuite. The reason for that is that we've got this row of built-in wardrobes, so the ideal position of the indoor unit would have been on this wall, and the pipe would have gone just straight through that wall and down to this unit here. But we had to put it on this wall and then run a little bit of ducting into the ensuite, and then through the wall in the ensuite, and then down into the outdoor unit there. So there you go, that's the basic plan. You can see we've got everything on this side of the house, and that's important because what it means is that we don't have any units in these 2 bedrooms on this side, and if we wanted to add units to these rooms, we would need an additional outside unit on this side of the house. And as I said before, we don't really want to do that. And because we don't typically use these rooms that much, we've taken the decision to not put any indoor units in these rooms, and we'll just use electric radiators or some other heating system for those. And in the same way, we're going to put heated towel rails to replace the ones that currently run off of our boiler system. Those are going to get replaced with electric towel rails in the various en-suites and bathrooms. So that's the layout. In terms of how much all of this costs, this is a Toshiba multi-split AC system, and let me just show you very quickly what the actual indoor units look like. It's this, I have no idea how to pronounce this, Haori, I guess, something like that. And it's quite a new system from Toshiba. So what you can actually do is you can actually buy different covers for them. You actually get the dark grey and light grey covers in the pack, but you can buy any other type of covers you like. I think it's about 50 quid for a cover, so I'm not sure I'd bother. But if you really wanted to, you could get different colours to match your furnishing style or whatever you like. And you can see that there's a few options available. I expect you can probably get them custom made. I don't know. All of the interior units have Wi-Fi built in, so it means that you can hook them up to your smartphone and control them through an app. I've got to admit, the app is not brilliant. It works. It's fine. You can schedule them the time that they come on and go off and all that stuff. But yeah, they can get a bit confused, and it sometimes crashes and you have to restart it, but that's fine. It's not a huge deal, but it does mean you can control the temperature and the timings of them and all that, which is very convenient. And then, of course, you've got the data sheet at the end of this particular document. I'll just zoom that in a little bit more so you can see it a bit better. There we go. Let's move it over a little. And so we've actually got 5 indoor units. We have one of the 4.6 kilowatt units. We've got one of the 3.5 kilowatt units, and we have 3 of the 2.5 kilowatt units, and that's the cooling capacity. The heating capacity for these is slightly higher. You can see 3.2, 4.2, 5.5 kilowatts respectively. I no idea why they have different capacities for heating and cooling. It's just the way it is, I guess. And the exterior units are well, let's see if I can find it here. Are these ones here? This 3-room R32 RAS 3M26U2AVG-E 3.7 kilowatts exterior units, and that means that we can connect up to 3 indoor units to each of the outdoor units. And so the capacity of 7.5 kilowatts is the nominal total cooling capacity that this outdoor unit can support. And I think it can go up to something like 9 kilowatts for the heating. And you may have worked out by now that for the indoor units that we've got, we have a 4.6 kilowatt combined with a 2.5 kilowatt going into one of the units, and that gives you a total of just shy or just over 7 kilowatts. So that's fine. That's within the capacity of the outdoor unit. But with the other outdoor unit, we've actually got one of the 3.5 kilowatts and 2.5 kilowatts going into that. So that gives you a total of 8.5 kilowatts. So that exceeds the 7.5 kilowatts of the outdoor unit, but that's okay because we don't typically run all the way up to that maximum anyway. I did a heat loss calculation for our house, and I worked out that on the coolest days when it's sort of -3 outside, our heat loss is about 7.5 kilowatts. And given that the heating capacity of our 2 outdoor units combined is actually something in the region of 18 kilowatts, I think we're going to be absolutely fine. So they're never going to be running at their maximum capacity, so that's fine. So just to give you all of the details on the costs, let's go back to the floor plan here. The multi-split system that we've got is the Toshiba multi-split system. The outside unit, we have 2 RAS-3M26U2AVG-E units. The indoor units, we have one RAS-B16 N4KVRG-E, and that's the 4.6 kilowatt indoor unit. And we've got one RAS-B13 N4KVRG-E, and that's the 3.5 kilowatt unit. And then we've got three RAS-B10 N4KVRG-E, and those are the 2.5 kilowatt units. So the 4.6 kilowatt unit is this one here because it's got this large area to fill. The 3.5 kilowatt unit is this one because that fills not only the downstairs area in the hall there, but also it flows all the way up the stairs and fills the upper landing area as well. And then the living room and the two bedrooms, well, the bedroom and the office one, those are all the 2.5 kilowatt units. Right, so that's all of the technical details. What about the cost? Well, the whole lot, all in, including installation, comes to £8,273. And then there's a little bit of electrical work in addition to that, which is £230, giving you a combined total of £8,503. Now, what I found interesting is that I got the initial quote from the installer, and there was a line on it which said no VAT, and I queried this, and apparently because air-to-air heat pump systems are considered a renewable technology, they don't have any VAT for getting them installed, which is brilliant. So I didn't know that, so that was something that was a nice surprise. But there you go. So that's the total cost. I will now take you on a very quick tour showing you some of the units in action and in person, and I will show you outside as well to show you what the outdoor units look like and how noisy they are and all that stuff, because that's probably the primary thing that most people are interested in, other than the cost, of course. So yeah, let's go and take a tour. Okay, so let's start in the hallway. This is the 3.5 kilowatt unit that we've got set up here. And we've left it without the fabric cover because we quite liked just the white standard plastic for the hallway here. It's just a sort of slightly textured plastic. And we've gone for the 3.5 kilowatt here instead of the 2.5 like we have in the smaller rooms, because it's got quite a large open area to fill up, and it fills up all of this double height staircase and landing area. And you can see that we've been here over a year and we still haven't got around to doing anything about our light fittings, but yeah, don't worry about that, we'll get around to that at some point soon. So this is our sort of cozy lounge area where we spend our evenings, and this is one of the smaller rooms in the house, which means we didn't need quite such a powerful unit in here. So we've got a 2.5 kilowatt unit on the wall up here, and it's slightly off center because we didn't want the fan blowing hot air over us while we're sat on the sofa. So we've set it off to the side here. And you can see we've gone for the sort of dark grey fabric cover on this one. You can see it's sort of textured fabric, and that just wraps around and velcros in place, and you can replace this with any of the other covers. But yeah, we thought this worked pretty nicely in this room. And while I'm in this room, you can see this is the ducting that comes out from the back of the unit in the hallway. It comes into the lounge here behind the door and just runs down the wall, around the corner, and then pops out through the wall there, where it then runs along underneath the windowsill on the outside of the house and round through to the outside units, which are actually just behind the lounge wall, just over there. So yeah, I'll show you the outside of that as well. The other thing that I thought was quite neat was when the installer was drilling through the walls, a couple of the core samples came out quite neatly. So I thought they looked pretty cool, so I've decided to keep them. This is the outside skin brick layer, and you can see this is the inside block layer. And I thought they looked really cool, so I put them on display for anyone who is particularly interested in that sort of thing. So this is the outside of the house where the ducting comes out through the wall from the lounge and along underneath the window ledge, and then goes through the fence just over here and into the outside units, which are down the side passage behind that fence there. So this is the sort of kitchen, dining room, family area. We like to call this the hub because it's where we do our sort of socialising. And we've got a 4.5 kilowatt unit in here because this is such a large room. And you can see we've gone for the lighter grey fabric, and I've got my step ladder here because what I want to do with this particular one, this one's actually not running right now, but I just want to show you inside if I pop that up, you can see this is the filter, one side of the filter anyway, that you can you just pop out. And every now and again you've got to take that out and give it a vacuum to get rid of the dust, and then put that back in. But you can see inside, this is actually the heat exchanger where the refrigerant line comes in and then snakes backwards and forwards, and it's got these sort of metal fins that create a very large surface area. And then there's a fan that blows the air over this, which then comes out through the louvres at the bottom. Those will open up when it's operating, and the air comes out there. So yeah, I think this is pretty neat. It's a fascinating piece of technology, but fundamentally pretty simple. But yeah, I really like this stuff. So a lot of people may not actually realise, but they've probably already got a heat pump in their house in all likelihood, because they already have a fridge or a freezer. And these units operate in a very similar way to that. In heating mode, the indoor units like this one here are a bit like the fins on the back of your fridge. So you may notice that the back of your fridge gets warm, and it's exactly the same principle. So your fridge is drawing energy from inside using a heat pump and then depositing it outside through those fins on the back. And this heat pump system is doing exactly the same, except the outside units are acting like the inside of your fridge, and these indoor units are acting like the back of the fridge. So yeah, it's drawing heat from outside and depositing it into your house. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so I've come upstairs into the main bedroom. You can see me in the mirror there. Hi. So this is another 2.5 kilowatt unit, and we've gone for the light grey cover again because we thought it looked nice in here. And we've got a slight problem with this room because we couldn't put it on the ideal wall, which is this one here, because we've got some very large built-in wardrobes, as you can see. So what we've had to do instead is put it on the wall between the bedroom and the ensuite. And what that means is that the ducting can actually come through to the other side, like this, and then run along this side in the ensuite through to the outside there. So that's a much neater solution than having it run along inside the bedroom. And it means that the condensation pipe that comes out of the back of the unit doesn't have to go uphill, which it would have done if we were to put this ducting on the other side of the wall here. And if it goes uphill, you then need to get a pump to pump the condensation out. Whereas doing it this way, it means that the pipe doesn't need a pump and it can just run straight to the outside of the house and then down the wall, and all of the other refrigerant lines can run down the outside of the wall into the outside unit. So we thought this was a reasonably neat solution, and probably the best one that we could have come up with under the circumstances. And finally, here's the office. This is where I spend most of my working day, in this corner over here, and Kat gets the rest of the office because of course she does. And yeah, she's hard at work already. Now this is the last of the 2.5 kilowatt units, and again we've gone for the light grey cover in here, and this heats the room up really nicely, keeps me nice and toasty during the day. So yeah, that's the end of the tour. So actually, one last thing before we take the tour outside. I just wanted to show you really quickly what the fan noise was like for these indoor units. So typically what we do is we have the units on their lowest setting, so they're just trickling the warm air into the house, keeping it sort of at a nice level temperature. And I'm going to be quiet for a few seconds, and you're going to see if you can hear the fan as it's running. So I don't know how clear that was, but yeah, it's pretty quiet. We actually don't have this unit on in our bedroom overnight. We typically warm the room up before we go to bed, and then we have it come on sort of when we wake up, and that works pretty well for us. But if we really needed to, we probably could have this on overnight, and it wouldn't be too much of a disturbance. And if it gets really cold during the winter, maybe we'll try that and see how we get on. But for now, we've not found the need to do that. But yeah, we've been pretty pleased with how quiet these units are. Okay, so these are the two outdoor units. We've put them down the side of the house here because this is the side of the house where we actually want all of the indoor units. So you can see that the ducting runs up the wall there. That's the one that goes into the lounge, and that's the one that goes all the way up there to the one in the office. And usually you'd need a fair bit of ventilation for this, but we thought it would work pretty well because the fence actually has gaps in between to let the air through. So we figured it would work all right, and this is it goes through to next door. So these units, although they're blowing air obviously at the fence, it will go through the gaps in the fence and allow a bit more ventilation through. So you can see, if I look closely here, this is the outdoor refrigerant line with the heat exchanger in exactly the same way as the indoor line, but on this side of the system, this is where the refrigerant is actually colder than the outside air, which means it absorbs some of the heat from the outside air before it gets compressed and heated up by the compressor, and then sent through to the indoor units where it's nice and warm and can heat up the inside of the house. So you may have noticed that we've got a few electrical cables snaking along the ground here, and that's because currently these aren't wired in properly. They're just running off of extension cables, and I've got the end of those cables hidden under here to keep them nice and dry. And what we're going to do is, an electrician's coming next week, and they're going to properly hook these up to an outdoor plug on the outside of the wall here, and that should make things a lot neater. But at the moment, yeah, it's snaking around to the back of the house where we've got an outside socket, and that's where they're plugged in. But yeah, that'll get all sorted out next week. So this is the noise test for the two outdoor units. They're both operating now at a pretty normal level, and I can definitely hear them when I'm this close. Mostly it's the compressor rather than the fan, but if I move a few meters away, they very quickly blend into the ambient noise of the wind and everything else that's going on outside. So they really don't disturb us or the neighbours in any way. So yeah, let me walk a few meters away and you'll see how quickly the noise level drops. So by the time I get to here, I can barely hear them. They're slightly louder than the ambient noise, but once I'm at this sort of level, I basically can't hear them at all. So there you go. They are quiet enough that they're not going to really disturb anybody. And that's the end of the tour. I hope you enjoyed that. If you found that useful and would like to see the rest of the videos in this series, please subscribe so you know where to find them. The next video will be about the pros and cons of this system over some of the other systems you can get, like an air-to-water heat pump system, for example. And after that, Kat and I will have a discussion about how we've found living with the system day to day, how it compares to our old gas central heating system, and how we've got used to the slight quirks and differences in operating this instead of the gas. So yeah, join us for that, but before I leave, I'd like to show you something really cool I found yesterday whilst sitting in my office. I noticed that the fan units all stopped, and it occurred to me that maybe the outdoor units were running through their defrost cycle. So I popped downstairs and took this little video, which I found absolutely fascinating, and I hope you do too. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.